Gentlemen, are we ready?
Yeah.
Toronto is burning. The landfill in Tempe is burning.
It's snowing on Mount Fuji.
It's
My right
snowing
foot
on
is
Mount
burning.
Fuji. Welcome, everybody, to another edition of the Tukey's Take podcast. It is Friday, May 19th, a wrestling fan's favorite date. Neither of you will get that joke, and that's okay. That's for like 3 people out there, but damn it, if you know, you know. We normally record on Thursdays. We held off originally because we were going to try and get a great friend of the channel, a great friend of the show, back on the podcast to talk about the Arizona Coyotes. It did not line up that way, but delaying a day, gentlemen, worked out pretty well for us as we have some big news in regards to Toronto that we'll get into in a minute. But as we're recording this, Brendan Shanahan getting ready to take the podium, so we'll be able to follow along with any quotes there. It's going to be his first time speaking in a year. I don't believe, again, he's been out there publicly speaking for the Leafs since they were eliminated last year.
Wasn't even in the press box at times.
Yeah, he was pretty much a ghost.
That press box has always been Kyle Dubas, that other fucking guy who I don't know his fucking name is, the GM, and Jason Spezza. The entire time it's only been those 3. Fucking Brendan Shanahan just sitting back on his fucking yacht the entire year, even in the winter, just chilling back, being like, you know what? Kyle's got it. Kyle don't got it anymore, okay? Kyle
don't got it. So we'll get into all of that because there's a lot. But first and foremost, the most important and pressing question of the day. Endo Mills, how are you?
I just thought of a crazy nickname that no one used for Kyle Dubas during his entire 10 years of Maple Leaf because of the Sault Ste. Marie. Kyle Subas. Come on. It was there.
It was there.
No one did it. That's why I'm the funny guy. I'm okay. I'm doing all right. I'm exhausted. I had a long day at work, but you know what? It's all worth it. I got my sick kicks that I got for my birthday. Look at these fucking non-branded Arizona Coyote shoes.
Arizona Coyotes. What's that?
Yeah. The undefined Coyotes. These are called the Sandinal by Fila, and these were like $40, and it got like stuff like on the back of the sole too. It's kind of flat-ish too. If you're watching this on the YouTube side of things, you're gonna love this. You see my foot, big foot. You know what that means? Big shoes and big socks, and the flat bottom over there. It's beautiful. Anyways, how are you guys doing?
Sin, how are your shoes?
They're off. I can't put shoes on today because it hurts.
Fair enough. Anything else going on? Where do I go from there?
No, yeah, I'm sorry. I'm having a gout flare up and it's very painful. And the meds make me feel all fucking blah. So yeah.
What a great day for a podcast.
I'll be fine. We just need to get talking about shit and I'll forget about it.
Yes, we do. Well, before we get into talking about shit, we do have a short viewer question segment. But before that, even, we need to mention, of course, as always, this podcast is brought to you by our lovely friends at Manscaped.com. Of course, you can go to Manscaped and use code TOUGIE. That's TOUGIE for 20% off your order, and you get free shipping. What a deal. Manscaped, the best you can get in men's grooming, head to toe. They got you covered. The Performance Package 4.0 still leading the way with the Lawnmower 4.0. You got the Weed Whacker for the pesky nose and hairs, because you got 2 ears but only 1 nose. You see how that works? And of course, so much else. The Beard Hedger Pro Kit dropped earlier this year. Again, the best you can get. Head to toe, they got you covered. Our friends at Manscaped.com. Our one viewer question, because I cut out a couple of these because of all the news today, comes from Craze. With the news of Ja Morant, yet again flexing a gun on Instagram Live, top 5 all-time bag fumblers. Now, I don't know if you can call him a bag fumbler. But did either of you see Charles Barkley go in on Ja Morant on TNT?
Oh man,
No.
Like
I saw
the
a little bit of
disappointed uncle, the disappointed father. Just
Oh, man.
what are you doing?
brandishing the gun, can't do that.
Who do you think you are?
There it is. Lost my jaw hearts.
Look at me when I tell you, Shaq, you gotta help me out on this. This young man, pop, gang, gang.
Oh, you can't do that.
And that's what happened on TNT.
Yeah, there we go. There's the
Can't do
recap.
that.
We're actually gonna get copyright strike too.
Doogie's Chuck.
God damn it. Basically, that, yeah. I mean, again, he trying to prove, like, again, it's somebody who is in a position of privilege, had a good childhood, I guess feels like he needs to prove how tough he is, and it's fucking stupid because who gives a shit? Like that fragile ego nonsense. You'd hate to see it ruin another career, but this guy seems determined to, have that happen. And I mean, geez, it doesn't matter. Like we've seen it in fucking football. Jesus, Johnny Manziel threw away the small shot he had of being a successful NFL player because he had to prove, I'm a fucking man. Plaxico Burress shot himself twice in a club and accident on an accidental basis, and I don't know, man. I don't know, but I don't have a great answer for this. The most recent one, especially if you search bag fumblers, will be Dennis Schrader, who declined an $84 million extension from the Lakers to hit free agency and took a 1-year, $5.8 million deal from the Celtics, and is currently looking for a job, or was at the time. So yeah, aside from that, like the NHL equivalent, the only thing I could think of was John Klingberg, who really bet on himself in free agency and had to take a 1-year deal with the Ducks. Outside of that, nothing really comes to mind. Aside
Who else
from,
was it?
Go ahead.
There was one other person who
Like big NHL free
held
agent?
out. Yeah, like was holding out in free agency. Hoffman, maybe.
Yeah, Mike Hoffman at a time went to get a
Like it was
big
during
contract.
COVID, I think, and he was just chilling there. And for like hell of these guys waited way too long in free agency to sign, and they ended up taking much less. But that was during COVID. Yeah, it's hard to call it maybe a bag fumble, I guess. But it was a lot of guys who bet on themselves and anyway. But it's hard for the NHL equivalent because it's so fucking basic. It's so rare as people just like, no, fuck you. I'm gonna go free agency and make a bunch. Like,
And then it doesn't happen.
yeah.
So I left this question in as the segue to the Leafs conversation, which we didn't know we were going to have today. But instead of talking about Pokemon for half an hour, let's talk about this. The Toronto Maple Leafs president and alternate governor, Brendan Shanahan, said in a statement, quote, that the team has decided to part ways with Kyle Dubas, whose 5-year contract expired or was set to expire on June 30th, 6 weeks or so from now. Again, as mentioned, Brendan Shanahan is currently conducting a press conference where he literally just said they were working on an extension at the end of the regular season.
Yeah.
And said, quote, he felt those convos would have put him in a position to reach an agreement with Dubas at the end of round 2. So we'll see how he clarifies or further elaborates on that point. It seems like the plan was to keep Kyle Dubas, but he is out. So the plan was to keep him, yet they said they decided to part ways with him. Is that only because you need to technically part ways with him 6 weeks early so that you can get stuff set up? Who knows? But Dubas was promoted to general manager on May 11th, 2018, taking over for Lou Lamoriello. He had been with the club for 4 years as an assistant GM, had a record of 221 wins, 109 losses, and 42 overtime losses as GM of the team, in a position he took over at age 32.
Jesus.
There was obvious, yeah, I know, right? The fact he was 32 years old and the GM of the Toronto Maple Leafs is still fucking insane.
Yeah, it pisses me off. He's like 4 years older than me, and man's making millions. GMing hockey teams and shit. I'm over here yelling at video games.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Shanahan also just said he presented Kyle Dubas with an extension the day after the Leafs were eliminated, which is interesting. So obviously, from the Dubas side of things, all we really know is that it was likely that this was a family decision as to why he wouldn't want to come back. Although some people are questioning, well, was that a cover, kind of, because he knew he wasn't coming back? There are
Fuck
also
that.
some people speculating, like, did he kind of catch management off guard by not being 100% sure of what he wanted to do at that press conference? So they said, all right, well, we got to go with someone who is 100% sure. I mean, there's, despite this press conference going on, I don't know if we'll get the answer, although Shanahan, again, with a new quote, it's the job we choose, it's the sport we choose, but it does not come without a toll on families. So he does seem to be backing up. Shanahan said Dubas told him he really wanted to speak to the media on locker cleanout. Despite Shanahan suggesting he shouldn't, Shanahan respected his decision. So there had been stories of the disconnect between Kyle Dubas and Brendan Shanahan all season long. Another quote from Shanahan, I want to shout out at Mikey Stevens 81 on Twitter. Shanahan says there was a dramatic shift in his thinking after Dubas spoke at Media Day. So
Bang on, right there. Bang, told you. In our group DM chat, I said verbatim, and I will quote this right now. Hold on, because this is the one time I look good on this fucking podcast. Hear me out. I said, so Tugan and I are having a back and forth. Sin as well, but Sin, I think, wasn't there at the time. I said, yeah, I think he's taking a step back. He's done literally everything he could and kept the first round pick for this year's draft, which is true. Leafs still have their first round pick. I believe it's also Boston's pick this year too. So that's nice.
They got it from Washington in the Sandian trade.
Oh yeah, right.
Yeah. So then, was it the wording? Hold on. Then I said after that, I said Dubas did say that he was either looking to stay with Toronto or take a break. He'll 100% be back in the organization in some fashion, but the guy needs a break from the headaches. And you said Tricky said the wording they used though really didn't make it sound like he was like he elected to step away. And I said that I don't think they liked that Dubas gave the impression that he had the bargaining chip on his shoulder, that he decides if he stays or goes. And that's 1,000% what happened. At least what we're inferring from this.
So Shanahan again was just quoted saying that he and Kyle Dubas met on Wednesday to discuss plans, but did not get clarity on Dubas's plans with the team and wasn't sure if he wanted to be GM. Quote, I had more questions than answers. So the big kind of press conference from Dubas, the quote here, my family is a hugely important part of what I do. So for me to commit to anything without having a fuller understanding of what this year took on them is probably unfair for me to answer where I'm at. Quote, we haven't been able to have those full discussions yet, but it was a very hard year on them and tough for me. What I would say is that I definitely don't have it in me to go anywhere else. So it'll either be here or taking time to recalibrate and reflect on the seasons here. But you won't see me next week pop up elsewhere. I can't put my family through that after this year. Those statements by Brendan Shanahan's own admittance caught the team off guard. And this decision was made. And honestly, I can understand it from Brendan Shanahan's perspective. The job, the situation that he is in as president of the Leafs, you need to know that your hire of team GM is 100% on board. And from the sounds of it, at least at the moment, Kyle Dubas can't be. And as a result of that, they went in a different direction. Again, Dubas presented a new financial package for an extension on Thursday. Shanahan says at that point he had gotten to a different place about the future of the Leafs. So Wednesday, they have a meeting, and pretty much by Wednesday, sounded like Brendan Shanahan had made that decision that they were going to look to go elsewhere. Quote, Dubas's agent would call Shanahan and request a new financial deal. Dubas did not talk to Shanahan on Thursday, but emailed him last night saying he wanted to remain GM. At that point, Shanahan started to think about a different path. So this happened quick. In the past 2 days, essentially, it was Shanahan and Dubas having that meeting on Wednesday, and Shanahan not hearing what he wanted to hear after the Dubas locker clearing press conference. There were more discussions on Thursday with, again, new contract framework presented by the Dubas side, and Shanahan telling Kyle Dubas this morning that they were going in a different direction and that this is a Brendan Shanahan decision. I want to shout out Jeff Fayette as well on Twitter. Shanahan really making it sound like they let Dubas go over money, and the fact that Dubas didn't sound all in during the presser, which is a fascinating way for all of this to end. And from my outside perspective, I agree. This is quite fascinating.
Yeah, this is.
Yeah. So this is a big bag fumble on the side of the Leafs, not on Dubas.
Top
number
5
one,
bag fumbles. Kyle Dubas.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No,
Go ahead, Sid.
number one, they didn't have him extended this entire year. They could have, right?
Yes.
That applies to GMs and shit too. I imagine that adds to the fucking like tension and stress for him and his family this entire year.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to speak to, I know what's going on. I'm not going to say definitively, but that's got to be pretty scary. Hey, is fucking, I don't know if he has kids.
He has a
does he have
kid.
kids? Yeah.
He has
Is
a kid.
fucking daddy going to have a job next year? Are we going to have to move? His
Mm.
wife, am I going to have to yank my kid out of school? Him, am I going to have a job? Am I going to get to do this? Is this it? Like, do I have to pull out all the stops and it's all dependent on what happens this year? Ridiculous amount of pressure for a guy who's showed time and time again he can spot talent from a fucking airplane.
Dude, his drafting abilities has been insane. Leafs trading up to like trading down to go pick in the second round to grab a snag like Nyes or something like that. It's just amazing just be able to see the talent level and
Yeah.
all that stuff. Like,
And so, like, I get where the Leafs are coming from. Like, oh shit, we gotta do this quickly. But here's what I'm nervous about now, from their standpoint. Is this going to be their big change? Hey, we got rid of the GM. Now we can keep the core 4. I think that'd be a bad idea.
yeah,
Really fucking bad idea.
Obviously, that's the big talking point now. And again, just to reiterate the timeline of this, Monday, Kyle Dubas has that press conference. Brendan Shanahan's not sure. Wednesday, they have a meeting. Shanahan doesn't really hear what he wanted to hear from Dubas in terms of commitment. Thursday, the Dubas camp sends along new framework for the contract. And this morning, again, Friday, May 19th, Shanahan informs Dubas he's not coming back. Obviously, we're going to have to talk about potential replacements. And Shanahan mentioned in terms of what he's looking for a new GM that he is open-minded to all candidates, which blah, 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 blah. Said an experienced GM would be a positive.
Oh, no.
Well, so we'll mention that here, right? Because I want to firstly talk again really
that
quickly
almost sounds
about
like a slight against Dubas.
a little bit.
That's pretty fucked up considering what he's done for the team.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
A little bit, yeah.
Shanaplan. It's not coming to intuition.
Yeah, I remember
Steve
the
Dangle
Shanaplan was openly mocked constantly because it fucking sucked. How's he still president? Dubas should be president. GM's fucking hard, sure. You'd be better as president. Think about all the stuff he's done for the community and stuff like that. Like, I almost feel like Dubas would be better suited higher up.
There were a lot of talks that, hey, Brendan Shanahan has been the president of this team for 9 years, April of 2014. There was a lot of talks of, well, what if Kyle Dubas shifts to the president role and then get the GM that he has a little bit more chemistry with instead of butting heads with Shanny?
Right.
That's obviously not happening.
Yeah, president of Hop Operations would be perfect for Dubas, 100%. Just now, it's just man.
Like I said, it's just crazy though, because Wednesday you have the Monday you had the press conference. Wednesday you have the meeting. Thursday, and again, Chris Johnston at Reporter Chris on Twitter just reiterated this. Shanahan got an email from Dubas Thursday night indicating he wanted to stay as GM, but again, as mentioned, Dubas's agent also came back requesting a pay bump, and then they elected to not keep him.
Oh my god. Okay, so people who aren't catching up on this, I think Thrash has a perfect tweet for this. Shanahan basically, Dubas emailed me and said he would like to return, but then I took a nap and was like, nah, fuck that.
Yeah. again from Mike Stevens, Shanahan on Dubas's doubts about coming back. Quote, I didn't think he was going to go out and put that out to the public. Shanahan 100% felt betrayed by Kyle Dubas on Monday, going out there and saying he wasn't sure if he was coming back. And when he did not get that answer on Wednesday, yes, I'm coming back. That was it. That was it.
Oh my God.
So 100%.
Wow.
In Shanahan's mind, Kyle Dubas made his own grave on Monday at that press conference.
A man thinking about his family first before a team.
Oh, yes.
Literally what the whole point of the whole like fucking Toronto Maple Leafs motto has basically been family before everything. Like you're a family, you're a team kind of thing. What is it? Honor, pride, courage. Yeah, that's their motto. Yeah. And yeah,
he went off script. That's what it comes down to. He went off script. Yeah. Every locker room clean out. All the same things are said. Every team doesn't fucking matter. Oh, I'd like to be here, or oh, see what happens.
Yeah, that's why he fucking loved Babcock, because he was just a script guy the whole entire way through. Jeez.
So, again, I'll shout out Jeff Fayette again. His quote, what I'm getting out of this, as we saw with the Raptors and Masai Ujiri, MLSE has become way more hesitant in giving money to top-level staff after the Mike Babcock firing left so much dead money on the table. Yep. Dubas tried to get his bag regardless. The presser planted the seed of doubt in his commitment. Curtains. So, at the end of the day, it's tough not to say that this is probably for the best, because the last thing the Leafs front office needs is a continued disconnect between their president and GM, even if this is not, from all outward appearances, a very wise decision. I mentioned the Leafs record. They had the 5th highest points percentage in the NHL since Kyle Dubas took over as GM and made the playoffs in each of his 5 seasons as GM. You mentioned the drafting. We couldn't mention the trading because that fucking guy wheeled and dealed all the time. But you look, the 2018 draft class was his first as GM. They picked up Rasmus Sandin. They picked up Sean Dursey, even though he was moved to Los Angeles. And then in recent years, Nick Robertson obviously has had some injury troubles. Rodion Amirov, the first-round pick from 2020, who has cancer, so his development's been a little bit weird. On paper, it looks like he's done a good job with limited options in terms of draft picks for the most part, but we're still yet to see the full impact of his drafting ability, because it takes, a couple of years beyond where someone's drafted to find out.
He drafted Woll, though, too, didn't he?
I believe so. No, he did not. Joseph Woll was a 2016 draft pick.
Yeah.
Really? I didn't think. Oh.
Yeah, so he took over for the 2018 draft. So, yeah, Woll was already there.
I didn't think he was that old. My bad.
It's because he went 3 years at Boston College before joining the Marlies in 2020. Yeah.
So we kind of got a half-decent answer on the who replaces him front. I put on our little run sheet someone from the outside, and based off of what was just said, in terms of an experienced GM is a plus. I mean, we've seen those that have been mentioned for Calgary, for Pittsburgh. I mean, every name's being mentioned under the sun.
Doug Wilson.
What was that?
He's going to extend Matthews. Oh, baby.
Oh, man.
Internally, and Shanahan did say he was going to rely on this person a lot. Internally, Brandon Pridham, who has been with the team since 2014 and an AGM since 2018.
Cap Wizard.
The Cap Wizard, indeed. Other assistant GMs currently include Ryan Hardy, who is the GM of the Marlies and the Newfie Growlers. He didn't get fired, but all the coaching staff did, and that was you mentioned to me earlier.
Yeah. They just said yeet the whole entire coaching squad. I mean, they got their ass kicked over the past 3 games. They got swept in the 3rd round against Rochester. What's it called? The Admirals, whatever the fuck.
The Amerks.
Yeah, the Amerks, yeah. They got their ass kicked. It was I think the total goals against was 24 to 12 or something like that in 3 games. It was nuts.
They also have Daryl Metcalf, who has been with the team since 2014, and Haley Wickenheiser is currently an AGM. This is her first year as an AGM after 5 years with the team, where she was formerly a player development coach. You would certainly look at Pridham or Hardy as the most likely, given the tenure with the team in that managerial position, to be the internal hire if there is one. But again, we don't know.
When you need experience, you go with Peter Chiarelli.
Oh my god! I said it. And I will say it again. If the Leafs go with Chiarelli, I am taking my talents to Seattle 100%. I don't give. I was gonna say the undefined Coyotes, but they don't even know where the hell they're playing at like next season, or the next 2-3 years. So I'm just gonna go to Seattle if that happens. Fuck that.
There is also the question. His name was mentioned a little bit earlier. Sheldon Keefe. He's fucked. Like Kyle Dubas was the reason he was the head coach of the team. Still, Sheldon Keefe's gone, and we know this. GMs bring in their own coaches. There will be a new GM and a new head coach for the Toronto Maple Leafs this fall.
And the same president,
who's been there for 9 years.
Yeah.
Notice nuts. How he only shows up at the end of the season. That's it.
It's really weird how the NHL totem pole works. It's like it's such a direct chain of command. Coach is always the first to go. Then you change management usually, but certainly, obviously pieces can move in and out, but when it comes to the core guys, it's like they're separate from the whole chain of command on the business side. Mm-hmm. It's sometimes they're completely insulated from any form of criticism, and that's just the wrong fucking call at this point. I think, honestly, if listening, trying to read between the lines of the typical NHL interview, something I don't really hear when listening to Marner, Matthews, especially in the off seasons, is accountability. It's been the plan, it's like fucking the 76ers trusting the process this entire time. And I just feel like Marner and Matthews are under the impression that this is just going to happen. They're just going to win eventually, because that's what the whole idea has been in Toronto for a while. We stay the course, trusting the process, and this is just going to happen. And it's gotten to their mindset where it's like, yeah, we're all going to be here. It's up to, they're going to bring in the guys that'll help us win. At some point, it's on you, motherfuckers.
My brother in Christ, you are the guys that are supposed to help us win. Like it's the reason why the three of them take up almost 40% of the cap is because they're supposed to be the guys that get it done, and then they just don't. I don't want it to happen to break up the four, or it's really the three, but it's gonna happen, and it's gonna be messy, and people are gonna be upset, and whatever. You're not gonna win in those scenarios with those trades at all.
If anyone out there can find me a clip of Auston Matthews in particular, maybe Marner said it, but even one of those two, saying, I need to be better.
It didn't happen. I listened to the most recent Steve Dangle podcast, because obviously they're a little bit more plugged into the Leaf situation than I'm going to be. They're going to see everything. That did not happen.
Really?
There was not.
I didn't see it in the last interviews, and I cannot recall them at any point in time saying that.
No, it was the attitude.
They just assume. Sorry, yeah, I'm
go.
very fired up right now.
Go for it, buddy.
That it's up to management to bring in the support to help them. Guess what? Management's done that. Hey, we need some experience. Patrick Marleau, Joe Thornton, Jason Spezza, Mark Giordano. We need help on defense. TJ Brody, Jake Muzzin, McCabe, Shen. We need help on goaltending. Samsonov, Murray. You could even say Campbell, Anderson, like any of these things. What now? Everything's really changed around you guys. Now the GM's gone. When does it falls on you fuckers now? And if not, it has to. You got to make them feel the heat. Trade one of them, and then all of a sudden they're like, oh fuck. Because I just think they're just like.
I thought they would have woken up a little bit when they trade away Sandin and Engvall. I thought that would have been a massive thing right there that you change it up a little bit because the Swedes, they all love each other and they're all great buddies and all that. But the only person who woke up was Nylander because he played pretty damn good for the rest of the year. But the rest of them, they didn't really care because it didn't really affect them. And maybe that's just Paul Marner being Paul Marner, and his impact on Mitch is a lot more than we think, and all that fun stuff. But who knows? But just
you got to trade one of the ones who was so fucking memed up and horned up that put their fucking number in their contract. Trade one of those guys because they're unserious, fucking unserious, dude. I'm sorry, like that is crazy. The craziest thing is that they were allowed to do that. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's what you get with kind of a more rookie GM, I guess. That's like one of my biggest gripes about Dubas, and I don't have too many because, for better or worse, he always went for it. But the fact that you didn't come back at those guys and say, "The fuck is this?" No, this is a professional organization. I'm not letting you put your number into a contract. Sidney Crosby can get away with it because it was team-friendly fucking deal.
8.7 million.
Sure,
holy
Crosby.
Shit!
Sure, and the winner. Prove it.
And what do you know? Sidney Crosby. Oh, I can get away with the 8.7 million because it's a pay cut. 3 cups.
3 cups.
There's the
Art
difference.
Ross, all those fucking trophies in his name.
To be like insanely superstitious and crap like that. But here's the thing: you allow that because the man brings it, and the man works very, very hard. He makes others around him better. He takes over games. Marner and Matthews never, ever, ever, ever have taken over a game.
The only time it took over a game was when I think it was Garrett Sparks was in net, and it was just Patrick Kane and Austin Matthews doing the fucking ear selly back and forth with each other, back to back goals. The only time I saw that fucker take over a game, that and his first fucking game in the NHL. The only time I've seen him actually go through it, getting 5 fucking goals?
I think 4.
Or Jesus.
His debut.
Sin, to that point, you're right. That's been said. It's just the idea of nobody said we have to be better. The feeling of comfort and security and of trusting the process. And if we keep going with this core, it will eventually work. That was the feeling that anybody would walk away with after the end of season interviews that were there from Marner's, from Matthews, everybody down the line. It was, I hope to be here next year. And essentially, if we run it back, it could be the year. We just almost the sense of, well, we just got unlucky. And if we keep running it back, it'll work out. And that's not it.
Dare I say they actually got lucky in round 1?
They did. They did. Like they won. They became the first team ever to win 3 overtime games on the road in the same series. Like there's some luck involved in that
too.
So we'll see what happens from here. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, agree with it or not, Shanahan makes the call to change out the GM in one of the fucking craziest press conferences I think the NHL has seen in a very long time. And presumably you still, I mean, Sheldon Keefe's head is likely to roll, and
he's gone.
You still need
100%.
to make, you still need to make the changes with this roster because these guys aren't it. And honestly, it's, you mentioned trust the process with the Sixers. They're going through the same fucking thing. They just fired Doc Rivers as their head coach because, again, they could not get out of the second round.
Doc Rivers reacting to being fired is that fucking gif of him just...
it's one of the best memes of all time.
It really is, dude. He is one of the best meme-worthy dudes out there. I love all the shits of him.
One thing to note, too...
Forever love him for 2008. But, go ahead.
Yeah, one thing that about the Marley thing is every single one of the Marlies coaches was hired by Kyle Dubas himself. So they are 100% cleaning house with anything Kyle Dubas has had his finger on.
Hopefully not the analytics department.
Oh, that may go too. You never know. Oh, boy.
Or the sports science. Everything I cannot believe it. Should be president.
You do want, though, the synergy. You do not want a bit of plan A and a bit of plan B, typically. I feel like that doesn't work out that often. Like, how often do you hear of, well, the front office and the coaching staff are butting heads and it works? Like Chicago towards the end, maybe. I think there were stories of Quenneville and Bowman butting heads as early as 2015 when they won that cup, but then afterwards nothing else happened. Maybe it wasn't as early as 2015. And then what do you know? Once they start butting heads, oh shit, things aren't working out. It's not often that if you don't have that synergy and the shared vision of, hey, here's how the team's going to work, that it ends up working out. For better or worse, you want to have that same plan of like, okay, GM wants the team to be built this way. We have a head coach who loves to coach that style team. Like, for example, Calgary with Daryl Sutter. They get more skill, in a sense, with Huberdeau instead of Tkachuk. That does not fit the Sutter style. Calgary sucks this year. Who would have thought? It's just, you want that synergy. So it does make sense that a lot of what Dubas would want from like the analytical approach, but at the same time, you can't say it's all analytical from Dubas. He brought in the grit. He brought in Wayne Simmons. He brought in Kyle Clifford. He brought in fucking everybody.
Yeah.
Noel Acciari. Like, it's one of those things where we'll see what happens now, but in theory, you do want that little bit of synergy.
Noted Toronto Marlies alternate captain Kyle Clifford.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. So we'll move on, but clearly we'll be talking more about the Leafs in the coming weeks.
One more thing. Pierre LeBrun, Kyle Dubas respectfully declined to comment when I reached out just now. There will be a time and place for that, he said. Yeah, no shit. Yeah. The dude just got his oh man, what's it? There's an expression that I want to say. And I can't remember. He just got his shit blasted out in front of everybody. He just got like, this is the time where you there's no point in talking back, essentially, especially when so much of the reaction is like, what the fuck was that press conference? You just let Shanahan take all of the spotlight right now, and your time will come. So
yeah, I hope he GMs another team. Fuck Toronto. Honestly, don't go back there.
Yeah,
I don't think he will. At least not with Shanahan there.
After this?
Yeah.
Oh, he's gone.
And I know everyone's like, well, I can envision Kyle being back in a different role. Not now, dude.
Oh, no.
That bridge is burned.
Yeah, the role he'd be in is Brendan Shanahan's job.
Yeah. Trending
That's
in
the
Canada.
only way.
Trending in Canada, Harold Ballard.
Oof.
Who the fuck is Harold Ballard?
He was the owner of the Maple Leafs for years and years and years, and is known as one of the
when did he
worst owners in the history of sports.
He was you think of like the racist owner, he was the racist owner.
The most racist.
There's a lot of racist owners.
No. He was like the most racist. Owner. Yeah.
Like even more racist than Daniel Stern? Oh wait, no. Hold on.
You're thinking of
I don't know why I said Daniel Stern.
Because he was the commissioner.
Sterling.
Yeah,
Donald Sterling, yeah.
As I was gonna so I'll tell Endo afterwards, but this dude I knew from my hometown did a cipher. He was a hip hop artist, and he had the funniest one-liner about Sterling.
Oh man. I can't wait.
I'm gonna type it in the Twitter chat for you. Or actually, I just type it here.
So cool. I'll start talking about our next topic, and then Endo will bust out laughing in 2 minutes. Or not even 2 minutes. That's great. We'll give it time here. I won't move on to the next topic yet. We'll let Sin type this out and have Endo react.
Sin is typing, and there felt more suspense in my life. More suspense in this press conference.
Damn it. So yeah, we'll see what happens with the Leafs. Like I said, we will be talking about them for a long time to come in terms of everything that happened today. Kyle Dubas will likely be back in the NHL at some point. I cannot fucking imagine it will be in Toronto. Leafs fans knew change was on its way. I don't think this is quite what they expected, even though they knew it was a possibility, I would say. So, as Endo's response, I don't even know if he's seen it.
He hasn't seen it yet.
He definitely hasn't seen it. So there you go. He's reading, and there you go.
That's a hard ass bar.
It's funny as hell, dude.
Oh man.
So the Eastern Conference Final started last night. The Florida Panthers. Oh, they'll lose to the Bruins. The Leafs will get them now. Oh, the Hurricane. No, the Florida Panthers win game 1 3-2 in quadruple overtime. The
Overtime.
18 seconds from quintuple overtime, dude.
I think it was 13, at least off of what I picked up from Hockey Reference. So even
That's
better.
even more ominous.
The 6th longest overtime game in Stanley Cup playoff history, the longest game in Carolina Hurricanes history, as Matthew Tkachuk scores the winner with 13 seconds left before the 5th overtime. Sergei Bobrovsky stops 63 of 65 shots. Freddie Anderson for the Hurricanes stopping 57 of 60. For Bobrovsky, he becomes the 3rd player since since 57. In the past 67 years, he becomes just the 3rd player to record multiple consecutive, 50 save performances in the playoffs, joining UC Saros in 2021 and Curtis Joseph in 1993. Strong meme from Wabba. Strong memes across the internet, Twitter especially, having a field day with the Shanahan story.
Sorry, it's the picture of the Who Killed Hannibal, and in Hannibal's case, it's Dubas I want to raise, and Shanahan pointed a gun and looks back over. It says our staff feels wounded.
I mean, you knew this was going to be the reaction to this press conference. So.
And then Audie James with it's like a I think it's like a heartbeat thing, and it's like goes up and down for different things like mania, hypomania, euthymia, subthreshold depression, major depression. It's like, bros, we're back. It's so over. We're so back. It's over, bros. It's over. Real. God.
I just realized I've been Mandela'd myself.
Interesting.
For fucking years.
Mandiba.
I made a banger of a tweet last night that I don't think anyone got the reference to, and I felt immediately old. During this overtime, as we were entering triple overtime, I tweeted out, "Where's Patrick Rissmiller when you need him?" For those of you who don't know, he scored this fucking iconic Shark goal in late into. I thought it was triple overtime. Apparently, it was only double overtime. And this whole time, I thought it was in that 2006 series against the Edmonton Oilers. But apparently, it was in 2007 against the fucking Nashville Predators. And this entire time, I had this vision of him scoring on fucking Rolison. And apparently, it wasn't at all. And I'm a little bit going crazy because I was looking it up just to see how... Anyway.
So, Leafs continue to take the front page. Panthers and Hurricanes, though. I don't have too much to say because it was quadruple overtime and it was fucking insane. It was like a fever dream. Sergei Bobrovsky, I mentioned, 50 save performances back to back. First time just the 3rd time we've seen that in 67 years. Saros did it in 2021. Curtis Joseph did it in 1993. That is the story of the playoffs. I mean, the Florida Panthers are insane. They are insane and can very much win this series. I can't believe heading into the series, people were discrediting them and saying, "Oh, the Hurricanes will be the ones to get them." Yeah, maybe not. Maybe not.
Canes fans especially, dude. Like, they were so fucking,
man.
I don't know. They were so, confident going into this.
And I can't stand.
I was just waiting. I'm like, oh, you guys are gonna learn. Canes go up early on a 5-on-3 lull, and they're celebrating. By the way, Canes fucking power play merchants in that game. Only goals they scored were on the power play. But yeah,
I can't stand.
And then Florida gets 2 quick ones. And I was just like, yeah, welcome to playing the Florida Panthers.
Mm-hmm. That was my tweet. That was my tweet at that exact time. Welcome to the Florida Panthers experience, Canes fans. Bruins fans such as myself and Leafs fans welcome you, because this is what they do. Again, this is not it's an 8th seed in name only, It is not an 8th seed caliber lineup. And again, Matthew Tkachuk being the hero of the movie, kicking the door open in his fucking leather jacket.
He's fucking Patrick Swayze in Roadhouse.
Fucking does the big spin around of the car, opens the door, get in, losers, and just drags the Florida Panthers to their full potential.
I love that it was Tkachuk.
It's crazy.
Honestly,
It's
all-time
crazy.
one of the best sellies in overtime history.
Let's
Man,
go.
it's like,
Get
we're
the
going
fuck
home.
off the
We're
ice.
getting out of here. That was so great, dude.
I think the
tremendous.
best part about it is he's off the ice. Someone yells "fucking fat ass," and he's running to the room. He doesn't know where the fuck he's going. He's like, "Hey, am I supposed to go this way? Shit, what?"
Yeah. Oh man.
So good. Oh man, gotta love
Now-
hot mics.
We do still have something to talk about
Oh no.
in terms of playoffs and some other things. But before that, through the magic of editing, we have to take a brief pause. And we are back, and we are joined by the guest we didn't know for sure we were going to get, making his return to the Tukey's Take podcast. His Twitter bio says it, and it's true. Your favorite Arizona Coyotes fan, fellow Twitch partner, fellow member of the EA Game Changers now. Again, both him and Sin, recent additions. Endo, how's it feel to be excluded?
Damn, it's not the first time you let the brother out of that program. It's not gonna be the last. Yeah,
Fair
I
enough.
said it. Yeah,
Ladies
I
and
said it.
gentlemen, my good friend Deke Slayer is back.
Thank you so
Deke,
much.
how the heck are you, handsome?
I am well. Despite everything going on, I'm actually doing all right. I know we're going to talk a lot about what's going on, but, hanging in there.
There you
As
go.
much,
So,
how much I can tell you.
Blink twice if you need help.
Yeah. Yeah. Been rough.
I was really hoping to have you back on the show at some point, just under, better circumstances. But at the end of the day, I mean, who else? You're the authority to bring back here on this, because I want, not that you don't have the avenues to do it already, but I want to give you the chance to just get all the thoughts, feelings, and emotions out there. And we're going to go through kind of this whole saga of the Coyotes deal that was on the table, that was voted down, their history, what could be next. We're going to go through it. And pretty much at any time you want, if you have something to say about what I mention, if I get something wrong or forget to add something, you hop in and cut me off whenever you want.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I wanted to start off by mentioning what the plan was that was voted down. It was a mostly privately funded $2 billion project that was first proposed in September of 2021, including a 16,000 seat arena, eventually a practice rink, 2 different hotels, retail options, 1,600 apartments, a theater, and a sports book. They estimated that the district would generate about $13 billion of new spending on site and an average of more than $435 million over 30 years, or an average of $435 million over 30 years. And this was viewed as an incredibly favorable deal for taxpayers, especially by arena and entertainment district standards. And ultimately, Deke, it would have been exactly what the Coyotes needed location-wise.
Exactly. It put us in the heart between Phoenix and the suburbs surrounding Phoenix. Tempe is really a great centralized location for to have an arena like that there. I mean, it's right off the freeway. Everybody can get there from Mesa, Gilbert, Chandler, everybody in the East Valley, which is predominantly where most of the fan base is going to be from. It's where everyone basically lives. Now, that's not to say the West Side isn't growing, but the biggest fan base is going to be over here on the East Side. And it was a great location for us. And, there's no longer having to drive an hour and a half to Glendale from the East Side. It was going to be huge.
In traffic.
Yeah, in traffic.
I've heard the traffic over there is pretty brutal.
At 5 p.m. on a weeknight, trying to get out to Glendale and then having to go. They've since alleviated it a little bit. They built a new freeway, but you had to go through across. You had to go down go through the I-10 through Phoenix at 5 o'clock, and no one wants to do that. Especially going westbound, it was a nightmare. And it's still.
I remember
the
I-10 when I was on tour, and it was one thing I remember most was hot as fuck.
Yeah,
because it was summer and we had a van with no AC.
That sounds like absolute hell.
It was hell,
honestly. Yes. Yeah, that sucks.
So the opposition is one of the bigger sections here for us. Deke, true or false, the city of Phoenix was heavily backing the No campaign.
I truly believe they were. Yes. They were also in the process of suing the city of Tempe.
Damn.
So I had that marked down, that there were threatened lawsuits if the measure passed based upon primarily a violation of a 1994 agreement between them promising not to build residential developments in the 65 dB zone of Tempe, in which case, essentially, that's an idea of, hey, you're not allowed to build something here because we have the right to file noise complaints. It's too loud for this residential neighborhood. So yeah, pretty much for Phoenix, it seems like they would have had their way to put some muscle behind the No campaign in terms of having legal avenues that might have been flimsy, but they were there. But also out of potential fear and salt that in the future, Tempe could be the location over Phoenix itself for teams to potentially look at.
Correct. I was just about to touch on that. Yes, that's exactly really the nuts and bolts of it, is that they didn't want competition. You look at teams like the Arizona Diamondbacks, who have made known that they don't particularly care for Chase Field. In fact, they had issues they had issues a few years ago where they wanted renovations done to Chase Field, and Phoenix said, we're going to send in our own someone else to look over that stadium to see if you say that you need however many millions they said that. I think it was like, I can't remember the exact dollar amount, but it was a lot of millions and millions of dollars to renovate Chase Field. And Phoenix sent their own person in there and said, no, you don't need that. You need about $1 million worth of work, and that's about it. And the owner at the time threatened to move the team, and it was City of Phoenix basically told him, good luck, have fun. You're not going anywhere, but we'll see it because we're not building you another stadium. You already have one, and this one's barely 20 years old. So, and so that would be, and again, there is the Tempe area. There are spots where if you wanted to build something, I mean, it'd be tough, but you could absolutely do it. The arena, where the location was going to be for the arena, is kind of like the last big open spot that you could build in Tempe. A lot of Tempe has been built up already, with residential, commercial. Again, ASU is Tempe, basically. So that was kind of like their last big spot to build, was on this landfill. That is when I say it's a toxic land dump, it's exactly what it is.
I was going to get into that too. I did find a Bleacher Report article from March of 2016. Diamondbacks threaten to move if Chase Field doesn't undergo repairs. Chase Field may be fewer than 20 years old, but they're considering playing elsewhere. The team is upset that Maricopa County is unable to provide what it feels are necessary $187 million stadium improvements.
Yeah.
This was 2016.
Yeah.
So
the city told them to pound sand.
Yeah. The No side, also, from what I could tell on the outside looking in, had the support of local workers' unions who had no guarantees that they would have been used on this project had it been funded.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the union here, they had no guarantee on it, so they were against it. And then I don't mean to steal your thunder, because I bet you're going to get to that, was the airport had an issue, Sky Harbor Airport. This would have been considered to be in a flight path for landing planes coming into Sky Harbor. Again, when you fly into Phoenix, you land, literally your flight path is right over downtown Tempe. The arena plan was to actually build it down to kind of remedy the issue of the height of the arena. And then they were also taking up issue with the apartments too, I believe, was going to be their problem. And the arena group did their best to try and alleviate as much as they could. And then going forward, I assume there would have been continued litigation over it, but had it have passed,
the No side also had the voters, to say the least, especially the 60 and up crowd.
Boomers.
They voted. The youth very much did not. I believe it was 13 to 15% of those in the younger category, like 18 to 24, or
Yeah.
even a little bit higher, were a part of this general voting.
That sounds familiar.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
For this group, for Tempe First, and from what I've noticed in my time living in Arizona, it's real easy, and maybe I guess this applies everywhere, but it's real easy, especially here in Arizona, because we're pretty much a retirement community. I mean, there's a lot of retirees here. It's real easy to scare them, and I mean easy. All you have to do is say taxes. Put that one word in there. That's all you have to say.
Whoa.
They will vote no. They will show up and vote no. And I don't know if you guys saw this interview. They interviewed Bram Resnick, who is he's at a news station here, interviewed a no voter. And this guy was, I don't know where they found this guy. He had an eye patch and a cowboy hat and said, I don't go to the games, so I'm voting no.
Oof.
That I don't know where they found this guy. But I'm like, well, there's your Tempe voter. No, I'm kidding. But it was, and the worst part was I remember I was sitting at I was at our gym on the night of the vote, Tuesday night. And I was on my phone, and I'm looking at it, and somebody had posted the demographics for the mail-in votes, because you get all that information, you can sort by party, age, all that stuff. So they show what the majority voter was, 65 plus, and I'm sitting there going, we are so screwed, because they're all going to vote no. And I only know that because when I worked in education, whenever we had a bond or an override come up, that was the group that showed up to vote no, because they thought their taxes would go up. Doesn't matter you would improve your school district. Doesn't matter you improve your land, the value of your home, because you're in a good area. Nope. They just saw that as a new tax and vote no. And so and I'm not kidding, they will show up just for that and vote no. It's frustrating, to say the least. And I'll stop myself there, because I know we're going to get into some other stuff, so I don't want to jump too far ahead.
So the no side as well put in a lot more effort and a lot more money. Frank Saravalli reported this. There was a spending disparity, $250,000 from the Coyotes ownership group compared to $2 million spent by the no campaign from labor unions. The whole grassroots approach for the Coyotes not working out. Some of the I saw this thing. What is the word for the ad that you just stick on the front yard? Like
just a lawn sign?
Lawn sign.
Let's go with lawn sign. I wasn't sure. I could have sworn I heard a different word for it, but whatever. I saw one of those ads with the headline, "Billionaire Rapes Tempe." Is that the headline you want?
Yeah.
That was a real thing.
What?
And it worked.
Yep. They also ran with no bailouts for billionaires, too, I think was the other tagline they like to use.
That was literally my next point and you kind of mentioned it too, like the basis of the opposition was, we will not pay a cent because it's a billionaire behind this. Screw you, you pay for it.
Yeah, he effectively was paying for it. That's the thing. It's, I mean, in terms of arena deals, I mean, you look at the city of Glendale, they're still paying for Diamond Dallas Desert Page Arena. I'm not kidding. It's Diamond. What the hell is the name?
Diamond Desert.
Now? Yeah, Desert Diamond Arena. I don't know. It's formerly Gila River Arena.
Yeah.
Taxpayers are still paying for that. That thing was built. You're welcome. Was built back in 2003. They're still paying for it. They're still paying for State Farm Stadium. That was all taxpayer approved arena. It would not have been the case in the extreme that it is there, that it would be with Tempe. Again, this was designed to be footed by Alex Meruelo and would have done wonders. And anyway, I'm going to let you continue, because I was going to go on another tangent. I'm trying to hold myself back on.
It's okay. It's okay. So the city was slated to bear the $40 million cost of hazardous waste removal and cleanup, plus another $200 million in infrastructure costs to lay the groundwork for the project. So again, it's been mentioned, I mean, basically what you would think of as infrastructure, whether it be like the piping, the water, stuff like that. There were the kind of usual complaints of, but think of the increased traffic and stuff like that. But the main focus, and you mentioned the airport too, the main focus though is the waste removal. That area, like you said, is a dump, a literal landfill that has caught fire more than once.
Yes.
And waste from said landfill is now seeping low enough that it is threatening the water table below.
Correct.
So it is very rapidly becoming even more of a public health hazard, in which the city is going to have to fill or deal with the landfill sooner rather than later, in which the only response was, again, essentially, taxpayers are going to be on the hook for this anyway. You might as well have had it be included in an arena deal in which, hey, you're going to get something out of it beyond just, well, maybe this area could be a park, which seems to be the most common response.
Why would you build a park on a toxic dump?
Fuck them kids. That's what.
Who does that? I saw a cartoon, and Toogie, maybe you saw it too, that Tempe first put out, where they're like, they had this cartoon of like they could turn this dump into a park, but no, you're gonna put an arena there. It was the stupidest thing I've ever seen. And I'm like,
oh my god,
you're not gonna put a park on a toxic dump. Like,
Yeah.
that reminds me of back at my old high school. They were looking to revitalize the field, and that field had been there. It's been discussing for a long time. And they put like a whole new AstroTurf kind of thing in there. They found out that there was toxic waste on the grass and all that. And it was just a complete dump. And they had that shit closed off for like 5 years. It's like, we've been rolling around that for like decades. And now you decide to close it off because you're going to get a new arena coming through. Like, oh, whoop-de-doo. Like, it's funny.
mm-hmm. Yeah. So now instead of getting something out of it, they're now going to have to foot the bill. The Tempe taxpayers will have to pay to now have to clean that dump, because they're going to have to. Now, they're going to put it off as long as they can, because nobody's going to want to do it because it's expensive.
Yep.
But it's going to be on them to clean it.
Yeah, that's the problem with the biggest voter turnout always being 65 plus boomers, because they're not going to be the ones to really deal with any of the repercussions from all these hazardous wastes and things like that. And it's unfortunate, but that's just the level of apathy, especially for young people. It's just that fucking nothing gets done for us. So like, what's the point? And it sucks, and you wish you could motivate more, but it's completely understandable. Like, that level of apathy, as much as it sucks, and you would just want, yeah.
Let me talk. I want to go back to the traffic thing for a second. In terms of if someone lived over off that part of Rio Salado, and I can understand someone voting no. If you live right over there, I can understand that. I get it. Okay. The other thing I thought was funny, in terms of traffic, you don't need the coyotes there to have traffic be a nightmare at 5 o'clock in Tempe. It's a thing anyway. Also, I thought that we as a fan base didn't exist. I thought we had no fans, so why would the traffic be a problem? So I have no idea. Weird.
It's the old people who can't drive. That's why.
Who at least shouldn't be.
Ain't wrong.
Deke, anything else to mention about the opposition, the whole mess surrounding that, the literal mess of the landfill, before we move on to the responses to the no vote?
I'm going to give them credit for one thing. They knew the voters they needed to target. They knew exactly who to go after, who to get to show up to vote. They targeted those people, and they got them to put in their mail-in ballots. The Tempe Wins crowd, as much as I supported them, wanted to go with the old school knock on doors. And I know they tried their hardest. I think they made a mistake in not targeting a younger demographic that would have showed up. I don't know if going to ASU would have helped them out and trying to recruit those. Those kids are all registered to vote in Tempe. Maybe get them to show up. I don't know what the right move was there. But the Tempe First crowd did know who to go after and who to get to turn in their votes.
Yeah, that's wild. Where have we ever seen someone who represents the interests of old fucks being always able to organize much better, and the opposition never, ever, ever being able to mobilize the younger crowd in any meaningful way? Yeah, where have we seen that before?
Wrong.
I'll leave it there. I'm trying very hard to be,
Yeah.
on topic.
You,
but anyway.
you be what you want to be and say what you want to say.
I'm in a
That's
good
what we
place,
have
though.
you here for. So
But anyway,
the response. I'd be remiss if I did not mention the Coyotes social media admin who has been having their fair amount of fun the last few days. Holy shit.
Oh man.
Oh, they're
it's a-
having a
I-
blast right
I
now.
think
They
it's a
know
different
what
person
they're
now.
doing.
It's I remember Strives posted something. It's an entirely different person. Whoever was running it before must have left or got a different position within the organization, because it's an entirely different guy. There was a post. There was someone. Either the
Yeah.
last guy quit or so was like an interim right now because looking for a new guy. And they're kind of like, all right, we're gonna because this is the first time I've ever heard them refer to the fan base as the pack, and I'm like, wait a second, something's not right here, because I haven't seen it. Maybe Deke has seen it. He's like, pack, where do you want to do this? Pack, like our thing, 20K will reveal where our city's gonna be next. It's
It's
like
the first time I've ever seen them refer to us at like talk directly like to us like that.
Yeah.
They do call us pack. Like when you go to the games, they call us the pack. It's
okay.
it's not unheard of to get us called to be called. Well, that's normal for us, but like to have them come right at us and call us that. And I sit here and I take it all in and I go, this person, whoever this is, knows what they're doing. They know it's engagement. They know they're gonna get the heat. It's genius for me. I enjoy it. I'm just along for the ride. And they've just now tweeted.
I was
Michael
going to go
Jackson
through their
eating
tweets.
popcorn. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to go through their tweets. So you can scroll back on their timeline and look at obviously because Twitter has the view counts now, the engagement numbers before this vote, and they are in 10 to 20K range typically, especially a lot of retweets from the Tempe Wins campaign, which of course was the vote yes option. Now, in the past few days, obviously their initial response on the 16th, which I'll talk about in a second, 2.1 million views on that tweet. The next day, somewhere out in the desert, the Coyotes are looking for a new home, with Captain Kirk making binoculars as a GIF. 790,000 views. Then, yesterday, Pack, we want to hear from you. Where should the Coyotes build our new home? Mesa, Scottsdale, Chandler, Gilbert. 4.9 million views with over 6,700 responses.
Hey, too.
By the way,
it just hit 5 mil.
Perfect. Back in the day, by the way, they almost had an arena in Scottsdale, and the Coyotes would have had the infrastructure they needed 20 years ago to be an incredible success. It's a shame that didn't happen. And then, yesterday as well, Greg Wyshynski tweeted out, odds makers at bookies have set probability for the Coyotes' potential relocation, and the Coyotes respond with Michael Jackson eating popcorn in the Thriller music video. And then their tweet today.
The funny thing about that tweet is that was posted like 3-something p.m. and around 4:30 p.m. someone took a screenshot of a job posting for the Arizona Coyotes senior social
Strive.
media management or something like that.
It was Nasher's editor Strive. He's like, hey, looking for a new guy.
Tremendous. That tweet has 900,000 views. And then 2 hours ago, with 800,000 views, Pack, if this tweet gets 20,000 likes by the end of the day, we'll leak our new arena plans. It has 24,000 likes. Whoever it is, this whole direction is fucking working. Like, the Coyotes have
Stonks.
so much attention on them. And why not meme yourselves and lean into it at this point when you know people are going to act and respond the way they've responded, right?
Man.
It's just good business practice if you're in a position that relies solely on engagement numbers.
If there's one thing though that I like about that, now that I'm like really look at it again, I like when these brand accounts or tied accounts like sports teams have a personality or have a little niche to them or something like that. Not like what happened with this. Yeah, as long as it's good, not with.
You say that.
Not like fucking Vegas, dude. That shit.
Or Carolina.
I think we can all say that here. We can all say this here. Fuck Vegas' social media team. No offense, probably great people, but just their execution is. Oh, I'm gonna post my lineup. It's all fucking emojis. Who the fuck is this? Why are they all emojis? I don't get it. Am I out of touch? Is it me that's wrong? Like, what's going on?
Quirky asterisks. That's why.
Fucking, oh my god, I want to fucking put a bullet in my brain. Jesus Christ. Like the one thing I like is like randomly during last season, the Seattle Kraken social media manager was just like, "Oh, I'm nervous. I'm gonna post my crystals." Like what? He's just gonna post my crystals. I'm gonna roll my crystals for good luck, and it's like, W win admin. It's like it's so quirky. It's so stupid. I love it.
Now that since we knew that they do have a new social media person, I went and checked to make sure they didn't unfollow me. I'm okay. They're still there. They might have muted me, which is fine. I don't care as long as they just don't unfollow me. I'd be devastated.
I would also be making a mistake if I did not mention the Clayton Keller tweet of the disappointed face. Yeah. But I would also be remiss if I did not mention Clayton Keller's dad.
Yeah.
Who initially tweeted claiming that his son and others would refuse to play, which LOL. And then this morning, Clayton Keller's father on his recent tweet, quote, "I am writing to inform anyone who read those messages that my Twitter account was hacked and the messages were sent out by the hacker."
Dude, just lean into it. It was you. Just lean into it. You know, and the thing is, it's like, if you're frustrated, and your father, I completely understand. That's completely understandable.
Mm-hmm.
Like, dude, just lean into it. Like, you know what? Yeah, it was me. I was mad. Sorry. And
yeah,
you know, I want to.
Why do that?
You could have saved that.
Bang at the glass and yell at your kid as in a junior A match.
Yeah.
Well, that
Clayton Keller was
name,
brothers. Who knew Clayton Keller was brothers with Mitch Marner? Clayton Keller's dad, Paul Marner.
Oh
God!
So I was like, all right. I took it for his words. Took it his word. I was like, okay, he's frustrated. I understand that. I am too.
My son's not playing.
But don't do the hacker thing. Come on, man.
I know.
2023. No one
hear my
believes you.
son ever again.
Yeah.
He's fucking Adam Banks' dad. My son would rather not play than play for the Ducks.
Just the idea that somebody the night of this vote coming down decided, you know what, I'm gonna hack Clayton Keller's dad's account.
Yeah.
I'm gonna hack your dad.
God.
Your dad doesn't have his 2-step authentication on. I'm in, bitch.
Oh my God. So, team president and CEO Xavier Gutierrez wrote in a letter to fans, quote, well, actually, I'll read that in a second, because the Coyotes also told season ticket holders that they will still play at Mullet Arena next season after the public vote went against them. We'll talk about that in a minute. And then Xavier Gutierrez wrote this, quote, "While we are disappointed Tempe voters did not approve the proposed entertainment district, we want to thank our loyal fans who supported the Coyotes over the years. Your loyalty is what makes our pack strong." And again, reiterating that they plan on playing at Mullet Arena the following season and that they remain committed to Arizona and have already started re-engaging with local officials to sites and sites to solidify a permanent new home in the Valley. There was the follow-up response from Tempe's mayor, Corey Woods, again stating the disappointment, calling it the best sports deal in Arizona's history. Gutierrez again released another statement thanking everyone for the support, reiterating that they want to work on this. And in the NHL statement, the NHL is terribly disappointed by the result of the public referendum regarding the arena deal. Gary Bettman said in the statement, "We're going to review with the Coyotes what the options are moving forward." Before we talk about those options, any thoughts?
Mine are going to be mostly once we get into talking about the whole what's next portion. So, but right now, to kind of play off of what they said, this organization and the NHL are going to play out every single option before. I mean, relocation is as far away as they can make it, because Phoenix is a gigantic market. Yeah. There's 1.6 million people alone in the city of Phoenix. Surrounding area, it's even higher. And to anyone who, and I see a lot of this on Twitter, and mostly it's from people who've never been here, hockey is a pretty big deal here. Hockey works in Arizona. And I've said this countless times. I play here. I can't get ice time. Like, it's almost impossible to get ice time to practice. Everything is full. We actually need more rinks here. We're dying for them. And thank goodness they built Mullet Arena and built the Mountain America Iceplex right next to it to give us another rink. because you can't get anything here. It's, I mean, I'm playing my beer league games at, between 7 and sometimes 10:15 at night. Like, man, that's the only time we can get out there. So, anyone who says that hockey doesn't work here has never been here or is
fucking
just
Canadian and need to shut up.
That I'm Sin, you said
Fine.
it. I'm trying.
Fuck you, Sin. Jeez.
I'm just saying the most people who troll about Arizona are fucking Canadians.
It is. It's true.
Excuse me,
And
Quebecois, mostly Quebecois, and they're all like,
narrow it down
they
even
come back
further.
to Quebec City. The money here is not good, and you can't gamble because we are stupid. And sorry, that's
No, there's a lot of
Quebecois.
fucking
You can
Toronto
break
fans
that down
going
further,
up.
and it's the engagements I get from trolling or from it's Sin's right. It's Canadians. It is
Yeah.
mostly Toronto Maple Leafs fans.
Yep.
And it's Habs fans, Habs or Quebec, people from Quebec.
Yeah.
That's where I get all of it. And I can go to any profile where someone's giving me, is trolling me, and they'll have hashtag Leafs forever in their bio. 99% of the time. It is the weirdest thing. I'm like, this doesn't affect you. And let's talk about the Quebec thing. You realize that if the Coyotes move to Quebec, you have to realign divisions again. So who's going back to the Western Conference? Detroit? They're going to raise hell. They don't want to. Neither does Columbus. They're not going to do it. If you're going to move, and I may be wrong on this, but if you were to move a team to Quebec, it would be another Canadian team. It would be Ottawa. Would it not?
Or it would be an expansion, which I think is
Or
the smartest thing. Because the
I was looking for
NHL is not
Yes.
going to turn down those hundreds of millions they get from someone buying expansion, especially
Yeah,
from
the
was-
expansion
Canada.
cost, especially up there, is what,
Yeah.
$500 million? Or some insane.
Yeah,
It's a
so
really
that
high
was-
number.
That was one of the points we were going to get into when talking about the other options. Relocation, obviously. Deke, to your point, I completely agree. Like the tap dancing over the potential grave of the Coyotes is completely misguided. Arizona, or Phoenix is the 5th most populous area in the U.S. Like that is a major, major market loss if it doesn't work out. And you notice all the other leagues are there, and that's for a good reason. You have the NFL, the baseball presence, everyone else is there, the NBA with the Suns. And I do agree that certain areas are less likely to get a relocated team because the NHL would want the expansion fee that the Seattle Kraken just paid, or that the Vegas Golden Knights just paid, $700 million plus.
Yeah.
So when you're talking about Patrick Mahomes being like, Kansas City, let's go, you know what the NHL would prefer is for Patrick Mahomes to be a part of an ownership group that does pay the $700 million to bring a team to Kansas City. With Quebec, the NHL would greatly prefer, like you mentioned, division realignment's a factor here as well. The NHL would greatly prefer Quebec to pay over $1 billion Canadian, let's be honest, to bring a team in. Houston, it's the same thing. They would want that expansion money as opposed to relocation. That said, some of the other quotes here, really quickly. Obviously, there's been a big back and forth ever since. You have had the talk of, well, have they played their final game? You have Craig Morgan especially saying, hey, let's slow down the point. And obviously, you have praised Craig Morgan, as you rightfully should. I mean, when you're talking about the Coyotes, he is the voice of authority, essentially, for what's going on within that organization for someone who is local. We simply don't know. But the big two seem to be this. And let me know if I'm wrong. Back to Phoenix, on your hands and knees, groveling at the feet of the new owner of the Phoenix Suns, to that being Matt Ishbia,
You got
it. To say, look, we played here before, and I'm going to talk about that in a minute too. We played here before. You just spent millions of dollars renovating this place. Can we please work something out? Hey, maybe even you want to buy the team. We'll give it to you at a discounted rate, please God. Or you stay at Mullet Arena until you figure out a different option. Or apparently Salt Lake City, with the owner of the Utah Jazz currently expressing his interest at bringing the team, Ryan Smith, currently showing his interest at bringing the team to Utah, Salt Lake City, Vivint Arena, home of the Jazz, which looks like it would be a bit of a weird arena for hockey, perhaps, but those appear to be the big 3 options on the table right now.
Well, if I can, let me talk about Phoenix. So
Or is yours?
the idea of going back to Footprint Arena, formerly Talking Stick Arena, formerly American Airlines, US Air Arena, formerly America West Arena. Again, we all know the Coyotes used to play there in the 90s. Now, the issue at hand here is, one, the ice box and everything that meant to put a hockey team in that arena, that's all gone, so they'd have to bring all that back. The other issue is the sight lines. That still exists. They did renovate it, but they didn't renovate that part of the arena. So that sightline issue is still a thing. So, and then the other issue I run into
when
that
Deke
is,
says that, just to interject for a second, think of the Islanders at Barclays and how you saw pictures of the seats and you literally could not see like a third of the ice from certain seats. Picture that, basically. Continue.
Yeah, when you come into the zone, you're looking at the jumbo. If you're on that side, you have to look at the jumbotron because you can't see it. So the other issue I think we run into is in terms of revenue sharing. Now, you have two owners in one building. All right. And then I don't see how that works because that's why they had to leave in the first place. They were never meant to stay at America West. Now, they were there for, what, 7 years?
From 96 to 2003.
Yeah. And so that was never meant to be a full-time thing. That was just never going to work. So what then I wonder and you mentioned this, does Matt Ishbia buy the team? Now, does he want to buy the team? Is that even on the table? I assume Alex Mariuello has no interest right now in selling the team. He's got a sports book with him. He's got all this stuff set up. I mean, sportsbook's a big deal here now.
He's got part of it. We say, like, a lot of people have viewed that as, hey, the Coyotes was served as his gateway to be able to have that sports book, essentially. Like,
I don't doubt that.
Yeah, like that. There was a big story on that.
Yeah. And so do you sell the team to Ishbia? Does he want them? And then does he want to put the money into renovations, into Footprint Center to accommodate hockey? And again, Footprint Center is not big. I mean, it was designed for basketball and only basketball and concerts. You have to take, I believe, 15 rows out to put a rink in. And then you've got to put all the icebox back in and all that stuff. So, I mean, and then you have to fix your sight lines. So is it an option? Yeah, it would cost a lot of money. And does he want to do it? I mean, there's issues there, but is it feasible? You're willing to pay for it.
That's always what it comes down to, right? So again, you have that option, as unlikely as it seems. You have stay at Mullet Arena and look at other cities outside of Tempe that might be a similar fit. Or Salt Lake City, according to most, seems to be the front runner, even as a short-term fix. I mean, just because they were to move to Salt Lake City, that could be used theoretically as a trial run to see if it works there, and then you could have further expansion. I mean, we've seen that before in other spots. You had, who was it? It was the Hornets that went and played in Oklahoma City, and then people are like, oh shit, basketball would work here. And unfortunately for Seattle fans, the Oklahoma City Thunder became a thing through that avenue. Just because the Coyotes were to potentially go play in Salt Lake City for a couple of years doesn't mean they wouldn't then go back to Arizona, and then Salt Lake says, hey, we want our own team, which would be the best case scenario, I'd say, for all involved, especially the NHL. Bottom line is, man, it really does feel like it comes down to the history of ownership with this team, though, does it not?
No.
I looked up the history of this, and was the big response. 1996. Winnipeg Jets owner Steve Gluckstern sells the team to Howard Milstein and Richard Burke, who moved the team to Phoenix. By 2000, ownership essentially transferred to Steve Ellman and Wayne Gretzky. By 2006, Jerry Moyes was leading the team until 2010, where the NHL took over. Then in 2014, you had George Gosby take over, with Andrew Barroway joining the next year as co-owner. Gosby sold in 2017, Barroway in 2019 to their current owner. Jesus.
Yeah.
You know,
it's been a nightmare.
And that's the biggest thing. And it's so similar to Atlanta in a lot of ways, which, fun fact, I just saw today. This is the 12th year anniversary. Like, on this day 12 years ago was the news that the Thrashers were moving to Winnipeg. Crazy that it's been that long already. But that's just been the story of the Coyotes, similar to the Thrashers. The Thrashers just never had the ownership the steady ownership, or at least the owners that wanted to actually own the damn team. That's why you always hear Atlanta, the idea of the Thrashers coming back is because they very well could. Whereas in a similar situation, you're hearing the talks now of like, look, if the Coyotes go, that doesn't mean it's the end and you'll never see a hockey team in Phoenix again, or at least in the state of Arizona. It's just one of those things where you look at the history of ownership for this team and it's like, it's filled with what ifs. What if they had stable owners? What if they got that arena in Scottsdale in 2003 instead of Glendale? What if this passed? Was this finally the thing that they needed with the steady ownership? And it sucks because when it's good, it's good. And I've stood by you with this, Deke, the whole way, fighting in the trenches with you against the Twitter trolls. There was a lot of initial success in Arizona. They made the playoffs 5 of their first 6 years. And then obviously the big thing is the Western Conference final run in 2012, where I always say, look at that arena in those playoff games. That place was full. And again, that's with that arena being in a terrible spot and difficult to get to. If you get an arena in a better spot and the team isn't a dumpster fire every year on the ice, if you build it, they will come. And it sucks now because there's just so much uncertainty again. And it's a fan base that deserves so much better.
To reinforce that point and reiterate whatever, thinking back to those early years of success, I believe it was the early 2000s when I remember, I think at the time they were carrying over, this is when I think the NHL still did white home jerseys. They were carrying over like the old whiteout of Winnipeg. And in the playoffs, Sharks were playing Arizona. Everyone in the stands, complete white. The kid played the national anthem on the guitar in a complete white suit, a full white guitar. Like, it was like, it was a big fucking thing, man. Like, we know it works there. It's a huge market. And a bunch of people just don't understand that. And frankly, I don't know why everyone's trying to gatekeep hockey. Why do you not want hockey to get... You bitch and moan about the salary cap going up, yet here you are trying to gatekeep hockey from these incredibly huge potential markets to tap.
Old boys club.
That's all I get. By the way, just to go take you back in time a little bit too, you mentioned, and I just want to flesh it out a little bit, the whole thing with Scottsdale and back in the early 2000s. So what that was there was some land up there. It was another dead mall similar to, we're going to talk about another one here, and I'm sure it was called Los Arcos, and Los Arcos Mall opened in the late 60s and closed in 1999. So the land was sitting there, the building was sitting there. Scottsdale said, well, what do you want to do with it? So Coyotes approached it, said, we'd like to do an arena. City of Scottsdale approved everything. And they got so far, they had a groundbreaking for this, that they were going to build this arena in Scottsdale. And then they were sued by a group saying that you have to take this to a vote. Like, you can't just approve this. You have to have the voters have to get a say on this. Well, the judge agreed, said, okay, you're going to put this to a vote. And the owner at the time was Steve Ellman, who you mentioned. Right. And Steve Ellman, for his background from him, he builds malls. That's what he does. And about a few weeks before this vote was supposed to happen at Los Arcos, Steve decided to pull the whole plug on this because he wanted to build this giant thing called Westgate out in Glendale. This was going to be his baby. And the Coyotes were going to be kind of that little crown jewel there. There was going to be a professional sports team there. And for those of you who are not familiar geographically, it is literally across the street from State Farm Stadium, home of the Cardinals. But they built this gigantic mall out there, and the fact that most of your season ticket holders were in Scottsdale and on the east side, well, screw them. I'm building this baby out in Glendale, 45 minutes west and far out of Phoenix. And so that's what he went with. Now, if you build, and you mentioned this, if you build on Los Arcos, we are not having this conversation right now. They have the arena. It's done.
Dean, with that, we've had you for 40 minutes or so. Final thoughts. Anything left unsaid that you want to mention? The floor is yours, my friend, because obviously, again, like I said, I hate to be like, hey, come back on the show because something shitty happened. I was hoping like, hey, come on the show to talk about how fucking awesome this news is. But...
I think the last time you brought me on was when something shitty happened.
Yeah, it was.
It was.
That's why I feel bad.
I was like, oh, that's what this is. No, real quick. I just want to follow up. It's there are a lot of sites here that they're going to look at. I believe there are, from what I've heard, 5 to 6 sites they're looking at. The one they're looking at, which I alluded to, is Fiesta Mall. It's in Mesa. It's actually even a better location. It is, again, it's a shut down, abandoned mall. You can actually find videos on YouTube of people exploring it, and how much it's basically fallen apart since it shut down, I believe, in 2018.
Also featured in the Tony Hawk Pro Skater video game. No,
right. No, it's fine. The mall, by the way, the mall was a dump when it was open, just so no one misses it. So that is the big possibility. I believe there is a chance they could try and work with the Salt River Reservation. Again, there's a lot of open land there, and the thing is, that's right next to Tempe. So Tempe would get, assuming this happened, they would get all the traffic and none of the revenue. Because
I kind of hope that happens just for the memes.
Across the freeway.
And all those fucking boomers to be angry.
So we'll see what happens there. Again, that's going to be an issue with gambling and gaming licensing and all that stuff. And I know that, obviously you've got a guy who owns casinos and then going to the reservation where they would build the arena most likely next to one of the casinos they have out there, be it I guess Talking Stick would probably be the closest one, but Scottsdale, but I know there's another one near Salt River. So again, anything's really possible. And then I know they're looking at a couple of others. But my point is that the hockey is a market here. And it kills me when I have to read everybody say that no one cares about hockey here, because there's nothing further from the truth. And I wish that every one of those people who tell me hockey doesn't work in Arizona, nobody cares, please come down here, because I'd be happy to show you. I'd be happy to show you how much there's a passion for hockey in this state. And that's all I can say. I would love to have everybody. I wish I could do it. And I have offered, I offered a Canadian reporter. I don't know if I'm going to say, I'm not going to say his name. I offered him, I said, come down here. I said, I'll buy the tickets. I'll buy the beer. Come down here. I will show you that hockey works here. And I believe he used the opportunity to dunk on me. So, it is what it is. So.
I would use his name. Fuck that guy.
I'm gonna be. But good
I'm also
for
petty as shit. So
I've been good the whole time. No, I know it's okay. Trust me. You have no idea how badly I want to be, but I'm like, no, I'm gonna be professional today. So, which I know is not what you guys want, but I'm gonna.
No, it's fine. I'm not gonna pressure it all. They might, but
no,
it's all good.
I won't.
Nah, it's all good.
You can catch the man on a near nightly basis every weekday. Twitch.tv/Deke Slayer. Deke, anything else to promote? Or is it just
that's it. I mean, you hit the nail on the head there, guys. It means the world to me to be here and be able to talk to you again. Thank you for squeezing me in. I know it was a really tight schedule, especially on my end too. So thank you so much for giving me the opportunity.
I want to promise you this, but I can't. I want to say the next time we have you back, it'll be in a more positive light. I hope it is. I really, really hope it is. I want celebrating, tap dancing Deke Slayer.
I will have the confetti cannons. Again, I will be incredibly drunk, and it's gonna be great. So, I mean, that's what we're gonna hope for. That's what we're gonna believe in. Again, I'm not entertaining any relocation thought because it hasn't happened yet. I mean, I am committed. I believe this is the best ownership we've had ever. At least Alex cares. At least he puts on the face that he does, and I truly believe he wants to make this team work here. And again. Anybody's got an issue, thinks hockey doesn't work here, come on down. I'll show you otherwise.
Our favorite Coyotes fan, your favorite and ours, our friend Deke Slayer. Deke, thank you.
Appreciate you guys. Thank you.
I got a peanut butter cup.
We begin with Barkley. We end with Barkley.
Let me tell you something. The peanut butter cup, one of the best candies of all time. If you separate chocolate and candy into two different genres, you're just being pretentious.
Got Mr. Big like me, Big Aristotle.
Shaquille O'Neal don't need any lip from you. When you're banging a guy, when a guy's banging you.
Oh, fuck. And that's the incentive, everybody, to keep listening after the Deke Slayer interview. Again, it was great having him on. We have a couple of other quick things to talk about before wrapping up the show for today, because again, between the Arizona news and then the surprise Toronto news, here we are. First and foremost, I want to go a little bit out of order here because we were talking earlier about Kyle Dubas and GM changes. The Calgary Flames had a bit of their own controversy this week. Pierre LeBrun confirmed that the Flames denied Pittsburgh the permission to interview former GM Brad Treliving. The rest of LeBrun's tweet: poor look on Calgary's part. People around the NHL, including potential candidates for the Flames' current openings, notice how you treat people. Is that not a huge reason why Sutter was let go? I don't view this as a controversy, though. Like,
he got let go, and he got let go, and then they got mad that they talked to him that he wouldn't. I can't speak. I had this fucking peanut butter cup in my mouth, so I'm kind of like losing how to speak. Give me the rundown.
They agreed to part ways on April 17th, 5 days after their season ended. His contract expired. They still have the right, though, to say, hey, no, you can't interview this guy until certain time. Why wouldn't you? Like, I get it's the idea of like, oh, how you treat people. In theory, though, Brad Treliving, does he not have the big book of secrets that he could then bring directly to his new team, especially in regards to the draft? I don't feel like this is all that uncommon for an NHL team to refuse somebody like this until after a draft. If this is September and it's still like, well, Brad Treliving hasn't been able to talk to anybody until September, then sure, that's a bit much. But for the most part, yeah, I just don't see this as a huge controversy. But I'd love for people to let me know, actually, here's why it is a dick move. I don't read it into it that way.
Yeah.
So wanted to mention that. We talked about the Eastern Conference Final earlier. We never got to talk about the Western Conference Final, which was going to be our next topic before we knew that Deke became available, as the Dallas Stars eliminated the Seattle Kraken in 7 games, winning game 7-1. Ottinger does what Ottinger does. He just does not lose back-to-back games. Stopped 22 of 23. Bjorkstrand scored with 19 seconds left to break his shutout, while Grubauer had a good game, 26 of 28. The Stars in this series led by Joe Pavelski, 9 points, 8 of them goals. What I see the smirk there, Sin. It's what a fucking player, huh?
Yeah. No, he's a great fucking player.
God, what a player. Ooh, new president of the Leafs, Mike Babcock. I knew that'd be Endo's response.
Oh, give me a fucking rope and a low-hanging tree.
I'm still being paid as a head coach to be the
No, there isn't a I see there isn't a player on the Leafs with a fat enough ass for Babcock to compliment to use effectively, so I don't think Babcock will be anywhere near the bench again or a part of that management. I hope not.
Also for the Stars, Max Domi, 8 points in the series.
Attaboy.
Tremendous from him. My God, should the Bruins have got him at last year's deadline.
many
Luke
points
Hintz and Thomas Harley Thomas, 7 points for him, who he did not play the majority of their regular season games this year. Again, a former first-round pick who, again, I'll always call him Thomas Harley Thomas because they called him Harley Thomas at the draft and then corrected themselves. But yeah, he only played 6 NHL games this season, was with the Texas Stars at the AHL for the majority of it, but now has played 13 playoff games, has 17 points, and is a +4 for the Stars.
Wow.
Fucking A, Dallas. Fucking A. God, we could sit here and talk about the fact that, like, hey, they also have, like, Nils Lundqvist in the system, and, of course, Mira Heiskanen at the top. Like, it's looking pretty good. As well, Jamie Benn with 6 points, Dodonov and Robertson with 5 each. So their big players stepped up. Their depth was there, too. Only 2 of their players failed to register a point, Luke Glendening and Ty Dellandrea. On the goaltending side, though, Ottinger with an .877 save percentage. But they still won the series, and that's the most important part. Your stud goalie showed up when it mattered the most. He got lit up a bit, but you had the depth to be able to do this and get it done, and it's very impressive on Dallas's part. Before we talk about them and Vegas, I do want to talk about Seattle, led in the series by Jordan Eberle with 8 points. Gord had 7, Beniers and Dunn with 6. Schwartz, Tolvanen, and Schultz with 5 each. Only one player failed to secure a point for them in the series, Daniel Sprong, who played just 3 games before injury. And Philip Grubauer with an .874 save percentage in the series. He, again, had his moments, just could not outduel Ottinger. And there was a viewer question in there. Apologies, I don't have it marked down who it was from, but basically the idea of, like, was this a fluke for Seattle? What's next for them? And honestly, I don't know if it is. Like, I'd like to think Seattle could find themselves right back here next season. In terms of their roster, UFA's Ryan Donato and Carson Soucy, Martin Jones as well in goal, and RFA's Morgan Geekie, Daniel Sprong, Vince Dunn, that's going to be a good payment, William Borgen, and Cale Fleury. They don't have too much roster turnover coming this season. They will have money to spend in free agency. They have 4 picks in the first 2 rounds of this draft. I don't see why they would disappear.
I think they're doing it right. They're building a team up. They're set up for good, prolonged success. And again, I'm still going to plug it. Vegas has got to do this pretty much this year. They're running out. Like, they don't have any prospects. They always seem to find ways to keep things going, at least for now. But I don't know.
Has Vegas even drafted like a good player? Have they?
Yeah, but then they've traded
Vegas. Yeah, they've traded them is the issue.
Yeah.
So Vegas Golden Knights.
They have like no homegrown talent at all.
No.
Their draft pick history is fascinating. In the so their first year draft, Cody Glass, 6th overall, gone.
Right.
Suzuki, 13th overall, gone. Brandstrom, 15th, gone. Nick Hague is still there and in their lineup, much to Darnell Nurse's chagrin. Jake Leschyshyn's with the Rangers now. Romberg's played 43 games. Really, that first draft class, the only player who's really made an impact on the Golden Knights is Nick Hague.
Right.
The year 2 draft, the 2018, only one player from that class has played NHL games so far, and that was 4th round pick Paul Cotter, who has 62 career games. 2019 class, Peyton Krebs. He's with the Sabres. Yep. He went over in the Jack Eichel trade. Outside of that, you have 11 NHL games for defenseman Caden Korshak and 20 games from Pavel Dorofeyev. 2020, not a single player from that class, the 2021 class, or the 2022 class has played NHL games. And their first round pick in 2021, Zach Dean, was sent to St. Louis for Ivan Barbashev.
There was one thing that I've always called them. It's the Vegas High Rollers. I feel like their team philosophy is always going to be a win now scenario, and I don't think it's going to last though, because they'll have a player, and then there's like no loyalty. I think that people started noticing that with the Fleury situation, where they traded them away, basically when he was given the spot to be the number 1 guy, and then just kind of the sword in the back per se, and that situation happened, and then knowing that there's no like loyalty to people who do play Vegas out, like you could basically be traded at the drop of a hat for another star player. It's like, yeah, sure, that's great for your organization, but you're showing that you have no loyalty to your players.
So we do get to the Dallas and Vegas conference final. Funny enough, Vegas is the northernmost city left in the playoffs, which I love.
God damn it. God damn it.
I don't have to ask. And we always play the who do you want to win, who do you think you'll win? But Sin, I don't have to ask, but I'm going to. Dallas and Vegas.
Yeah, I want Dallas to win. God, I hope they win. I don't want to just keep getting scared. Like, yeah, if Vegas wins, fucking whatever. Like, they pretty much have to. I don't want them to whatsoever. Obviously.
Yeah.
So it's interesting because Vegas, in terms of having to win, UFAs this year, Barbashev, Bluger, Phil Kessel, Jonathan Quick, Brassois, Aiden Hill. RFA is Brett Howden, Pavel Dorofeyev, Braden Pachal, and Nolan Patrick. So they will have some turnover, but Eichel, Stone, Carlson, Marchessault, O'Reilly, they're all still going to be locked in. Petro, obviously, on defense, but you know, the squeeze will be there because similar to like the Leafs, like, okay, our core is locked in, but yeah, we're not going to be able to keep Ivan Barbashev at $2 1/4 like we acquired him for.
But here's the main thing: everyone gets a year older.
That too.
That Petro contract is going to age so poorly, even as friendly as it was at the time of signing. Stone, with all his injury history, he's come back and he's been solid, but like, dude, back injuries are crazy, and you never know how that adds up. Like, I'm just wondering, you know, how they're going to get rid of those when the time comes, of course, where they're going to be like, fuck, this guy is now not what we got him. We have to get the new shiny toy. And I don't know if they'll be there's only so long they can keep doing that. So that's why I've kind of been like, it's gonna come. That downhill's gonna come. Like, and they simply have no contingency plan for it.
Worth noting for Dallas too, and talking about like what the offseason could bring. Their biggest UFA is gonna be Max Domi, and he's gonna get paid. So that'll be interesting. It's a good shot for both teams here. Like, they will have some turnover in the offseason. Endo, Dallas, Vegas, your thoughts? Do you want to win? Who do you think?
Fuck Vegas and those emoji fucking jabronis. I spit on you.
Well, we have a potential episode title. I'll talk about
emoji jabronis.
I'll talk about them at the end. So far we have Kyle Subas, tier 4 for life, and emoji jabronis, which I feel like it has to be that.
That's pretty good.
It has to be that. Our final talking point for this, I wasn't sure if I was going to rant about this, but god damn it, I'm fired up. Hampus Lindholm was the talk of the Bruins internet community over the past over the past few days. The word came out from Hampus Lindholm in a end of season injury, or about an end of season injury, from Matt Porter of Globe.com. After the Bruins were booted from the postseason, Hampus Lindholm said his foot injury did not impact his play. I'd say I was fine. The defenseman said May 2nd, when the Bruins cleaned out their locker, everyone has bumps and bruises. But he later revealed he was playing with a broken foot. Now here's the fucking kicker. I found out this morning, May 2nd, that I had been playing with a fracture in one foot for the past month. The injury likely stemming from a shot block March 11th against Detroit. He was spotted wearing a walking boot. The next day, it did not play in the rematch in Detroit. After several games in late March and early April, he was spotted with an ice bag on his foot. He missed a game March 26th against Carolina due to what Coach Jim Montgomery called a nagging injury. He said there's no excuses on that kind of stuff, blah, blah, blah. That happens. I do not blame... Okay. Here's what chaps my ass. How was a player for the Boston Bruins playing with a broken foot that nobody knew about for a month? You are the Boston Bruins in terms of medical staff. How did you not know he had a broken foot? I do not blame Hampus Lindholm for playing with this injury. Any hockey player, if you let them, can have their head blown off with a shotgun and they'll still be on the fucking ice if they can somehow manage it. That's just a fact. Patrice Bergeron played in the 2013 Cup Final with a hole in his lung. Tyler Johnson played in the 2015 Cup Final for Tampa against Chicago with one working hand, which was dumb then and is dumb now. Hampus Lindholm, you knew he was hurt. You didn't know how badly. He had a dreadful series. He really did.
Yeah.
And you knew he was hurt. Did you not think to double check? Or did you not think we are the Boston Bruins and we have had success all season long on the back of our depth? You didn't take Allmark out when you admitted he was dealing with an injury in favor of Jeremy Swayman. You didn't take Lindholm out in favor of someone healthy like Jakob Zaboral, who was playing decent hockey before injury, but it was healthy and ready to go. They signed college prospect Mason Lohrei. Could you have not done that a week or two earlier and just put him in the fucking lineup? You did that with Torrey Krug back in the day. Worked out pretty well. This was infuriating to me, and the anger is not directed at Hampus Lindholm. It is again directed at Jim Montgomery. The fuck, man. The fuck. I just could not believe this. Again, it's the Boston Bruins. You should have world-class physicians. You should have known how bad the injury was. And even if you didn't, you should have seen how bad Lindholm was playing and say, you know what? Maybe we shake this up a little bit. The more we continue to hear about the details behind this loss, the worse it is, and it's already bad enough being arguably the worst choke of all time. Fuck. Anyway, I just needed to get that out there.
Yeah. There's something I'll get out too, since I don't know how big of a thing it is. Some people, they don't think it's that big of a deal, but I think it needs to be talked about. In the NHL, there are 5 teams who are located in states where they don't pay income tax, and therefore one could argue that players will sign for a little bit less money on the cap hit, because they take home more than they would, say, in Canada or California. 3 of the final 4 in this year's NHL playoffs are one of those 5 teams with no state tax. And that is Florida, Dallas, and Vegas. Now, maybe partial coincidence, but you think of Pietrangelo, open market, what do you get, 8.6? Everyone's thinking 9 to 10. There's a depth player that you're able to fit under because of that. Think back to how shocked we were at the Ottinger and Robertson contracts. You know, like how did they get them to sign for that little? I mean, they do get to take home more. And because of that, Dallas is a stacked ass team.
Yeah.
Again, it could, correlation does not equal causation, but I think it needs to be mentioned. And again, Tampa, 3 straight Cup appearances. Hey, guess what? No state tax.
I think that's a fair point to bring up, right? Like we always talked about, oh, here's the Lightning. Steven Stamkos doesn't take as much. It's like, well, he doesn't count against the cap as much, but he is still making a good amount of money because, yeah, he holds on to more of the money through that contract.
Yeah.
Could continue to be. I mean, there's so many factors in terms of what goes into a player signing where. I mean, you know, hey, we talked obviously about Toronto a lot today. I mean, it's flat out known some players just don't want to go there because they don't want to deal with it. There was a lot of talk about trading Mitch Marner, and it's like, well, damn, if we were going to trade him, we should have traded him last year for Matthew Tkachuk. And it's like, Matthew Tkachuk didn't want to go to a Canadian team.
Yeah,
he didn't want to go to a Canadian team.
Yeah, and then also there was no way they're trading Marner last year. Like none of the core 4 were on the table until now.
Right. So, no, I mean, that is an interesting point. I mean, again, it could very well be coincidence, but at the end of the day, I mean, yeah, the fact is 3 of the 4 final teams are in that conversation, and all the more reason to get the job done here if you can, and all the more reason to not waste opportunities like the Boston Bruins did. Bring it back to that. Gentlemen, with that, do we have anything else to add? Or do we wrap it up after a bit of an extended show? But man, some big news this week in the hockey world. So I mean, it warranted this.
Yeah, dude. This
extended
was a great show.
Yes, indeed. Thanks again to Deke Slayer. Again, twitch.tv/Deke Slayer. He's on Twitter as well under the same handle. Endo Mills, what do you have going on in the meantime?
I'm about to go to fucking bed because I had like an hour of sleep and I've been up since 5 o'clock this morning. So that's what I got up in immediate schedule. Besides that, I stream sometimes, mostly now 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern, and I play whatever the fuck I feel like it because playing one game and wanting to kill yourself afterwards is no fun. So I'm going to play multiple games, whatever I feel like, whether it's Mario Kart, Mario Party, Mario something, NHL, literally any game on a Switch or a piece of paper or a piece of Xbox. I will play it and I will enjoy it and I will enjoy my time. I am taking back my schedule and enjoying myself into things that I do and enjoy. So yeah, that's me. Endo Mills, twitch.tv/Endo Mills. Also possibly a YouTube video coming out soon. I don't know. Probably. For you, for sure, yes. That thing has been delayed because of family stuff. But, you know, not to get too personal. But, yeah, I'm exhausted. Sin, save me from this misery, please.
Yeah, no. Now that everyone's clicked off of this, I'm now streaming on YouTube as well as making videos on there, and I'm gonna be starting up what I call the Money Puck Challenge on franchise mode, NHL 23 on stream, because I'm not going to start a YouTube series. I'm leaving in, I won't be able to finish that series, but on stream you can kind of get through things faster. So yeah, I'll be doing that, and basically, it's salary cap turned off, but so all the other teams can spend a bunch, but I am. Will only spend the minimal amount, and I'll start with what the cap floor was this year, and I'll increase it by like 1 million every year, and that's the only amount I can spend. So that'll be a fun challenge to try to build.
That does sound fun.
Like the A's have to in fucking baseball at a severe disadvantage.
You've just remade the A's.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah, I love it.
Sin is Billy Bean. Fun fact. That's his legal name.
There we go.
William Bean.
There you go.
And of course, in the continued adventures of one R.A. Thicky.
Yeah, that too. Yeah.
There you go.
Friend movie of the show. Yeah. Same deal for me. Of course, streaming a lot of NHL in the meantime, and we'll see if we get into some older NHLs sooner rather than later. Kind of have the desire to go back, play some of the classics as we have so many times. Not quite done with MLB The Show yet, of course, but we played a shitload of franchise, so we are taking a bit of a break from franchise at least. But Torf must continue. With that, we will be back next week, and God knows what the hell we're talking about next week at this rate. Jesus. But we are done for now. Thank you very much for watching and listening to the podcast. Shout out to Manscaped as always. Again, code Toogie. And we will see you guys next week.